going on, good people of the world? This is Zip, hanging out with you this morning, headed into the 9 to 5, and just wanted to talk about crypto as we're traveling down this journey, this exciting blessing that we've been given to own these digital assets like XRP. Some interesting things going on out there, and the markets are going to do what the markets do. But every time they start to do that, questions are asked. And I caught this out on X yesterday, I believe it was. But conversation with David Schwartz and talking about the price of XRP and where he thinks it's going to go. They're always trying to get him to speculate. Is it going to be $1,000 tomorrow? Or is it dropping to zero? His comment to me was interesting. He really deferred to what the price of XRP was. And he stated, many times too much focus is made on price for these utility-driven digital assets. And what he meant by that, and as he expanded on that thought, was we haven't seen real price yet. We haven't seen utility price kick in yet. So we don't know what's going to happen as they begin to fully implement the new financial system. And leading the charge with that, Ripple and XRP, moving payments all over the world. That's what we're waiting to see. Up to this point, it's been all speculation. We've had some ETF news. We had some ETFs that are, folks are purchasing, but no spot ETFs yet. So no one's holding the asset, which in my opinion is also utility in use. So this is where the patience comes in. And basically, that's what David was speculating on, or stating, not speculating, stating. Once we see the utility, as we know, on Monday, July 14th, ISO 222 was implemented. We know that XRP is ISO compliant, and it will start to be utilized for payments within Fedwire, for global payments across the world. Ripple hasn't been building this for years and years and years to not use XRP. I'm still seeing conversation about the stable coins and why they're pushing RLUSD so much for liquidity, for transactions. It enables XRP. But remember, RLUSD in and by itself cannot complete the settlement. That is what XRP is used for. It will be used to settle cross-border all over the world. But once that utility starts to kick up, as we've been talking about the flywheel and that snowball effect of what's going on, we're going to see that same flywheel as utility comes in. And it's not just about ETFs, and it's not just about treasury holdings, and it's not just about retail speculation. As we start to see this utility ramp up and it actually being utilized, which when is that going to occur? I don't know, but when we start to see that fully implemented, and as we were talking about ISO 222, remember, November of 2025, full world implementation using the ISO 222 messaging system. When we start to see that utility, now we're starting to talk about trillions and trillions, quadrillions of dollars that are going to be utilized. Remember, we've talked about the DTCC and how much money and settlement is going on just through that clearinghouse, that entity by itself. As we start to see the utility of tokenization really ramp up, they're going through a lot of test phases right now. As we begin to see that utility, that's when the price increase really becomes fun. Yes, we're going to see great price increase, I believe, this year, Q4. I think all of these things are going to start to come together. And just out of pure speculation and just out of the dropping of the ETFs, spot ETFs, to where they have to hold the asset, things are going to move, which is absolutely exciting. But what David Schwartz is trying to tell us is just stop focusing on price so much. That's really why I say I don't pay attention to the markets. I understand what I own. I know the long-term objective. I believe in XRP and what at the premise of its foundation it was developed for. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care what the naysayers say. I don't buy into the FUD. It is so vitally important that we keep our mind set absolutely positive. You know, have you ever noticed, negative thoughts will result in the loss, of privilege, of us being able to self-determine where we're going, where our destiny is. You lose control when you start to manifest and get sucked into all this negative nature. XRP is a shit coin. Okay. XRP is a banker's coin. Yep. Thrown right out in the trash bag. If you have studied and you have done your own research, you should hold absolute confidence in where this is going and when utility kicks in. And let's not focus directly on price every day. Have your objective, have your game plan, have the system like we talk about, but don't get fudded out because of negative naysayers, whether it be at work, whether it be in your family, whatever it is. You can't convince folks otherwise if they think something is worthless. I have conversations every day and I listen to the mentality, and you got to remember, these folks, when they make these statements, they don't have all the knowledge that you have, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have the financial strategies that you have. They're just, most of the time, just lollygagging through life and just hoping the next paycheck comes without looking and having a macro view of the future. You and I are different. If you're listening to this content, if you're reaching out, looking for other content, you are different right out of the box. You may not have all of the tools yet, but you're already different and you're expanding your brain to think differently, to look at things differently. But very interesting to see that from Schwartz yesterday. Just happened to catch it. And then something else that was out there, the SBI CEO, there's a post going around to basically where he stated that XRP is the greatest capability, utility for wealth transfer in our history. Now I can ride on with that. I don't know how accurate, the post is, but that is what I believe. This is our opportunity for the greatest amount of wealth to be absorbed to us in history. There's nothing else that is going to match this. And it's not just XRP, it's XLM, it's HBAR, it's XDC, these high-grade blue chip utility tokens that we have the privilege to absolutely own the technical stack. And that's why I keep mentioning these things to you, because I want your focus to be concrete, solidified, and have that long macro picture. You're going to become rich, many of you listening to this, because you've been holding and you continue to DCA in. I haven't stopped purchasing these assets. I'm still purchasing even at these levels, with regards to XRP. But XRP is going to start to get out of reach. In a video coming up, I'm going to show you exactly why I believe in investing in XRP, XLM, and the return on value as compared to Bitcoin. I'm not putting shade on Bitcoin here, but Bitcoin goes up $20,000, and that number in folks' heads is wow, I just made $20,000. Well, more than likely you didn't, because if you took $10,000 and you bought Bitcoin, you bought XRP, and you bought XLM, and you comparatively looked at price action when Bitcoin went up $20,000, XRP goes up $2, and XLM goes up $1, and you do the analysis, math doesn't lie. And that's why I'm holding these assets. But we're going to talk about that, like I said, in another video coming up. But the intent for this morning, while I'm driving in, I'm thinking and I'm pontificating, thinking about my dreams, my revelations, and where I want to go. I just wanted to express that to you. You know, at the end of the day, what's in between your ears, you are the only folks that can control that. You control that. And that space is going to be absolutely filled with either negative, FUD, or positive uncertainty of where we are going. And in my life, I've realized 10 times out of 10, when I dwell in the positive, things just seem to go a lot better. Opportunities arise. It doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect, but it just appears that everything is going to be okay. So with that, just keep your mindset based in positivity, and remember, utility. That's why we're invested in this. Just like David Schwartz stated, it's the utility of the token and the possibility that is going to cause price increase, long-term macro view, as they are going to use XRP and these other cryptos. That is what they're bred for. That's what they are used for and developed for. Use to move money, to modernize this old archaic financial system. And we're watching the laws being created right before our eyes. That roadmap, as I like to call it, laid out. So all the players, the institutions, the financial agencies around the world know how to use this asset to carry that money everywhere. And that's where we're going, without a doubt. And yes, continue to be part of the greatest wealth transfer, the greatest opportunity that we've ever had. And I look forward to talking to you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. Be safe, be smart, and someday, instead of driving into our jobs, we're going to be hanging out on the most beautiful freaking beaches of the world. Zip is out.